Everybody, welcome to this video. In this video I want to show you something here which you can download for $1. I'm selling this on Gumroad, okay? So just go to the link below the video and you will be able to download this from Gumroad for just $1, okay? Thank you very much to anyone who does buy any of my products I'm selling. What is this then? Basically this is a grid I've created, just so simple. A grid in Blender, and this is, oh by the way, I'm exporting this. You can download this as a blend file, okay? So it's the .blend format, so it should just open straight away if you have Blender, of course. Now basically this was made in Blender 2.8. It's just a grid. Look, it's a 3D grid, and this is basically for setting up your perspective in comics or animation, okay? So if you want to make any animated movies or any comics or anything like that for 2D art, or even any art in general, this may come in handy to have all those perspective lines already set. Now I've shown you how I've done this before in SketchUp as well, but this is just ready to go. It's a very big, fairly complex, big grid. So you could maybe like zoom in to here. Excuse me. You could zoom in. And you could maybe draw on top of this, and make it into like some corridor or something, or a house or a building. I could make this a whole forest. What you do is you export the image. Okay, you export an image from this. Okay, export the image. Or what you can do is take a screenshot just of that area you need, and then bring it into an art software. If you want to use Photoshop, or anything you like to use, you may like to use Clip Studio, Fire Alpaca, or Krita. There's so many art softwares out there, Procreate. Okay, the list goes on. Manga Studio, of course, being Clip Studio. But you can just simply bring the image into your art software and then go on another layer and draw on top of this, and use this as a guide to set up your perspective for your scenes in art and animation. I think it's very, very useful. Now before I don't want to make this video too long, but I do want to explain this a little bit better to you. Okay, what we've got here, where if I show you each view, like currently we're in the shading, just the wireframe view. Okay, if I go into the next one, which is solid mode, so we've got wireframe mode, then we have solid mode, which is like this, obviously. And this grid is actually a solid object. This grid is a solid object. You can see they're fairly thin. I've got the lines fairly thin, but you can adjust things even further if you wish to. Yeah, it's in solid mode here. Now if I go to the next one, which is look dev mode, I think this is the best one because they look very fine. I've given the background like a certain colour as well, like a certain gradient colour, like very soft, so it just gives a bit of atmosphere to it, and it's very faint. If we go into rendered view obviously is very dark. I've not included any lights or anything. Now let's go back to solid view for a moment. Okay, oh, please excuse me, what the hell? What did I just do there? That's funny. That's crazy. Okay, let's just go back into solid view for a moment. Okay. So you can see that the grid itself is also a solid object, really. It's fairly big. Also we can see the grid on the ground, which is good too, the actual grid lines on the ground, which is also good, which I can also turn off, don't forget, off and on by using the toggle at the top here to show or hide the overlays. So that's also very helpful to help you set up your animation positions in your art. The next one is obviously the show gizmos, so they're quite important. So if I'm clicking on an object like this, like the cube here, I can show those gizmos, the controlling arrows there and stuff. Now I want to say one more very important thing here, very important. If you look over here on the left hand side, or right hand side, sorry, you can see on beside all of my objects here, okay, which I have cubes in the scene, cubes, okay. And what this grid was made from, okay, this particular grid, it was made from a thing called a Menger sponge, okay. It just shows up as sponge here, and if you look here to the right, it's the only object which, yes, it has the visibility turned on like all of the others, but I have not selected this thing. If I select this little icon here, this disable selection, see, it's to disable the selection. If I click it now, it's disabled. So that's very, very important, very useful, because I included for you guys, I included some cubes and things in here too. Like, for example, if I want to have a cube, if I want to have things that I can set up in the scene to help me, for example, this cube could represent a table, or I could change the shape of it to make it like a door or something. By the way, the cubes that I've included in this, I've set the orientation of them to be nice, so they're more or less, it's like positioned so that they scale up from the ground up, and basically the orientation is set from the bottom, okay. So that means when I resize it, it won't go down below the ground, it just sizes from there, you see. So all of that, the same for all the orientations, okay, the translation, the rotation and the scaling. But yeah, you could make that into a door, a table, or whatever. See, I could make a basic setup for a house, let's say, maybe make a window here. Imagine that this is a house, you know, and I could just draw over this and make it into a scene, you know. So I'm just undoing what I did there. Yeah, and so I give you some little cubes and stuff so you can play around with them and duplicate them. We have some more over here on the other side, so there's some more, and they're all the same. They all work with that. They should all work with that orientation that I set, okay. So you can even use this for like a building or something. You know, and they all work like that, so you can scale them up and make things. I can make that into a cupboard or something and bring it in. You can also bring your own models, don't forget, into this. And the important thing is, if you're dealing with a lot of models, like if I wanted to bring like certain 3D objects in here to help me with the scene setup, I wouldn't accidentally click on the grid itself, which would otherwise be possible. It may happen by accident. You may sometimes accidentally click on the actual grid. So what I did is I turned off I disabled the selection for that, okay, by unhighlighting this thing, the arrow here. It's the sponge, okay. I didn't rename it as grid, please excuse me, but it's called sponge, okay. If you want to rename that, you can rename it simply by just going in here and typing it as grid, okay. So you got cubes and stuff. What else? If I go to up to here, filter, see, at the top here, top right, the little filter thing. Just make sure you have that visible, okay. Restriction toggles, like for example this one here. This one is for the disabling and enabling or disabling the selection. So if you don't see any of those visible here, go up to the top here and go to it, okay. And then click on that. So you know, with it deselected now, obviously it means we can't select that. So anyway, yeah, it's pretty handy. You know, you can go in, you can zoom in. I personally like to do certain things. Like I'll show you. Like I like to have it like in this view. I like to go to wireframe view, but so everything is in wireframe view. The cubes are not wireframe like. I mean, we can't see through them. They're just basically solid, and I prefer it like that, to be honest, because it helps me to see exactly what we're doing. And this wireframe itself, there's a reason why I made it slightly solid and slightly thick like that instead of just wireframe lines, edges. The reason I turned this into a solid thing is purely for this view, because I wanted to get as thin as possible, but I wanted to have solidity. You know, I wanted to have like to be able to see objects like this, but if you want to see through them, okay, like the cube, for example, you can go to show X-ray at the top here, and you'll be able to do that. Obviously, when you're dealing with objects though that are X-ray objects, it's harder to select them. You have to select on the actual edges. But I prefer to have don't have X-ray mode showing, but we still want to have this grid, right? So that's really useful, and one of the best ways to look at this while you're in Blender is to go to, as I say, look dev mode, the way I've got this set up anyway, because it's like so faint looking, you see. And I've not really changed the brightness. I've not really changed the transparency or anything of the materials or anything like that. You could mess around with stuff like that. Feel free to do whatever you wish, but you know, you may be able to do something better yourself even, but I'm just saying, like, it's just because of the colours, basically. That's what it is. It's just giving the illusion. Okay, what it really is this is the background. It is the gradient's a certain colour, you know, so it's looking a certain thing, and then you've got the grey lines. Okay, so I think this is a really good thing to set up. I mean, all you need to do is really take a photo of that. I mean, if you wanted to, you could take a photo of it in, you know, solid mode, or even wireframe mode, like I've done here. Remembering to have X-ray mode switched off so that you can see the objects in full solidity. If you're using objects like things like this, could be a table, this could be a chair, and you know, I could use objects in here too, then draw on top of that and really work out the perspective from my scenes in my comics or my animation when I'm drawing. Don't forget, you can also bring in 3D figures and pose those if you wish to draw over them like that. Bring in your own objects, models, or just shapes like I do here, and just try and make them into things. Yeah, but I was going to say, what you can do is you can simply export an image, which I'm not going to do here. I should do, but I'm going to just show you another way. I'm just going to take a quick screenshot, okay, using another screen recorder, Bandicam here. I'm using ShareX to make this video. They're both free, but this is the demo version of Bandicam, and I'm just going to take a quick screenshot of this area. Let's say, for example, okay, let's say I wanted to have this scene, and I wanted to get it in the right, you know, camera view, okay. And I say, okay, this is pretty good. I want this to be a big building or something, or a forest with a table in the middle of the forest. I don't know. I will just quickly take a screenshot and make sure that those things are out of the way. It doesn't really matter really, because you're going to draw over it anyway. You know, but I could do certain things like that. Let's just take a small one then. Okay, here. Quick screenshot like that. Okay. Just going to quickly turn that off as well, and then go into your art software and bring the bring the image in. This is the image we just took here. I'm going to bring it into my art software, Fire Alpaca. This is one that you can use, any drawing or painting art software, you know, and you can just simply, you know, for example, you could throw another layer on top and make it all white, so you know, just fill the whole thing white. Excuse me. Just turn the visibility off for a moment. Get a whole blank layer of white and put your other layer below it, your picture, and then turn down the opacity of this layer here to make it just faint. You see, it's just very faint, so you can just about see through, like 80 and 90% or something like that. And then what you do then is you make another layer on top of that, so it's like we're looking through a thin sheet of, you know, transparent paper, or basically, you know. And then from here you can just work your scene out. So I can just draw a table where, you know, if you want to, oh, by the way, if you get your sizes not too big, you may want to resize it bigger or smaller. So we're going to resize the whole image. Just resizing the image here to a larger size, okay, fairly larger size. I'm just going to go in here. You can get the idea, right? You can get lay down some rough sketches first if you want to do it that way. You can use a blue if you want to do it that way. I'm just doing a rough sketch first. I'm making that cube into some kind of table. I could put trees here. I could use those lines to make them into trees or whatever, or I could do anything. This could be a house in the background. You see, and just work it out, you know, and just work out some perspective. I'm just saying, you know, and just work some really good art using this is just a rough thing. I'm just showing this for quickness, you know. We could make a scene and really like use this as perspective and draw much better stuff, you know. I don't know, I'm just showing you my ideas and sharing what you can do. Okay, so this is a little product here I've made, as I say, and you can download this 3D grid. It's here. Okay, this one 3D grid blend. Okay, it's a blend file, a blender file, so it's going to be .blend format, and you can download that now, right now as a file. Okay, as a file, from Gumroad. Thank you very much for watching. Take care now.